Hey guys, Noel here, and it is Friday night, and I thought it would be fun for us to really kind of expand upon what we do on the YouTube channel. We review a lot of video games. Occasionally, we'll talk some politics and history. You'll see some of my anime artwork. And on the channel, there was also a review for one of my all-time favorite movies, Blood Fight, starring Yasuaki Kurata. Well, on the topic of reviewing things, why don't we start reviewing some anime on the channel? I think that would be something that would be very fun. I do have a nice anime collection. I am a huge enthusiast of Japanese anime. So, without further ado, let's get down to reviewing some very, very cool anime. Well, what are we going to be reviewing tonight? We are going to be reviewing episode 4 of one of my all-time favorite animes, Bubblegum Crisis. This is Revenge Road. If you have seen movies like The Car or Mad Max, and you love cyberpunk and things like Blade Runner, and you love anime from the 1980s, then this is for you. Bubblegum Crisis is a 8 episode OVA that spawned several sequels, both within its original universe continuity and also new universe continuities. In the series started in the late 1980s in 1987. And then it ended up getting rebooted in the mid 90s and was much worse, in my opinion. But this is episode 4. It came out in 1988. So it's still 1988 in this house, both on the AM deck and in my mind. So, anyway, let's talk a little bit more about the wonders of Bubblegum Crisis and Revenge Road. Bubblegum Crisis has a very gritty, dark cyberpunk aesthetic that is crossed with 80s pop music and really cutesy girls. But by cutesy, I don't mean like they have no noses and they're going tee hee all the time. I mean that they are very clearly into girly things, even though they are badass cyber vigilantes who wear armor, ride motorcycles, have uh, you know normal human-sized 80s mech armor. And this is the world of Bubblegum Crisis. It kind of reminds me a bit of the Poetic Samurai, right? There are there's the samurai who, he kills people, but he writes beautiful poetry too. And that really is kind of the spirit of what Bubblegum Crisis has going on, right? It's a very gritty cyberpunk setting. And what makes it cyberpunk? Well, it takes place in a post apocalyptic Tokyo in 2033. And the series in the cyberpunk genre has humanoid robots called boomers, which is now a term that lots of people have fun throwing around. So boomers are basically like replicants, if you are familiar with the movie Blade Runner. And it is the Night Saber's duty as vigilantes to do what the policemen can't do in controlling the rogue replicants who are tied to all kinds of shadowy corporate interests. The Revenge Road episode is actually interesting because it doesn't really focus on boomer violence. It focuses more on the idea of revenge, automobiles, and technology going into business for itself at the expense of the people who utilize it and create it. So the whole plot of Revenge Road is there is a biker gang. They, being a typical biker gang, go and abuse innocent people. There is a guy named Gibson, who I would argue is clearly modeled off of Mel Gibson of Mad Max fame. And this biker gang, basically attacks his car with his fiance in it. His fiance goes into shock and which is better than the deal Mad Max got, right? With Mad Max, his wife and child were killed, God forbid, and then Mad Max started hunting the killers down in his supercar. Well, Gibson in this is going to start hunting the bad guys down in his supercar, except the car is going to start to get a mind of its own. And even when Gibson tries to kind of pull back and try to take the more human path, once his girlfriend over here starts coming back to her senses, he is overpowered by the car, and it's up to the Night Sabers to help things out. Now, in addition to the Night Sabers, Bubblegum Crisis has one of my all-time favorite characters in Japanese anime, a guy by the name of Leon McNichol. And he's not just my favorite character because he has my name spelled backwards. He's essentially Don Johnson in the future, and it's fantastic. He is just super, super cool. He, wears sunglasses. He is the love interest of the main Night Saber Prince. And not Prince, Priss. I've been listening to Prince music, and it's just good stuff. Take a look at the animation on this as well. I mean, I love the art style. This is 1980s AIC anime. Bubblegum Crisis, in many ways, is a forerunner to animes like Tenchi Muyo. In fact, I believe Bubblegum Crisis actually, I believe Tenchi Muyo actually started off as a potential storyline for Bubblegum Crisis when they were trying to lighten it up, because this has a solid girl cast. And what's cool about this is that even though this has a solid girl cast, this doesn't have that kind of ham-fisted feminist, whining, agenda-driven subtext like a lot of the stuff we have now in movie theaters. This is a movie all about, this is an OVA all about girls, but there's, very little preachiness to it. In fact, I said there's no preachiness to it. But anyway, since this has got 4 female characters as the main cast, there is a character named Mackie, who is one of the girl's younger brothers. And he's just kind of your typical good-natured, semi-perverted, 13-year-old whatever boy. And the writers actually wanted to kind of do some stories centered around him that were more lighthearted, and that kind of morphed into Tenchi Muyo, which is interesting stuff. So yeah, this is I think what I would argue to be really one of the apex of Japanese anime in the late 1980s in terms of its style, in terms of its music, in terms of its themes. It's definitely not going to be as ornately detailed as something like Akira, but it doesn't try to be. This is a cyberpunk comic aimed at, teenage guys to young adult guys who like robots, who like pretty girls, and who like stories about a future gone wrong. So if you're into those things, Bubblegum Crisis it's for you. That balance of the gritty and the pretty is something I thoroughly enjoy, and Revenge Road is one of my all-time favorite episodes of this series. So check it out. Bubblegum Crisis, Revenge Road. All kinds of good stuff. And until next time, guys, my name is Noel. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you in the very near future. Bye-bye. Like and subscribe. Bye-bye.